Okay, so hi everyone. We are now streaming live on Facebook. Over to you, Diana.
All right, thank you everyone. Thank you for joining us today, the viewers on Facebook, the viewers on Zoom. Welcome to MyProsper Clinic. I'm your host, Diana. So I'll start with my first advisee. Welcome, guys. Mary Weremba, how are you today?
I'm fine, Diana. Thank you.
Okay, maybe I can go next. My name is Martin Namasaka, and I've had the chance to be advised on Prosper. And my background, so I've been working in the media and comms sector, focused on international development, and I wanted to buy some property, and I was figuring out how best I can be able to negotiate on the properties. That's the reason why I consulted Prosper, and I had a chance to get an advisor, and that really worked out for me. So over to you.
Thanks, Martin. Thanks for that introduction. Gillian, Ndeti, karibu sana. Please introduce yourself to the audience.
Thank you very much. My name is Gillian Ndeti. I am a marketer by profession. I also am proficient in communication and business management, mobile money management, and that kind of thing. As you can hear, those are very diverse things, which is why I took a course with Prosper on career development, because I'm quite multifaceted and I've been all over the place. So I just wanted to find what my true north or center would be.
I love the fact that you said you have a diverse background, and I think I'll take my first question with you actually. What's your take on Prosper's premise on being mentored on industry leaders? What can you tell us about Prosper's strategy or tactic of linking you up with industry leaders to be advisors to you in this professional journey?
Well, actually, the most interesting thing is that before Prosper began, while they were still testing the service, I was their first advisee. So I consider myself to be Prosper 001 if we were doing indexes. And through the time, I had an opportunity to meet with 6 advisors, talking about my social health, my social life, my physical life, family life, career, and also purpose. So you can hear that was quite a broad areas in my life to be advised on, because the program was still being implemented. That whole process took about 1.5 years, 1.5 years, a year and a half almost. And then in that time also they had events which we would attend, we would have advices. I like the premise that, if you want to go, they usually say if you want to go quickly, you go alone, but if you want to go far, go with others. I like that it's also like you're standing on the shoulder of giants so that you can see what you don't know, because they've been there. They link you up with the top professionals in the industry. So wherever, any area you could be struggling with, Prosper is just an upper way. So I've enjoyed being in a part of Prosper. You can get them on app, and once you get to know the Prosper advisors, you have them even on phone. So you just book your sessions even on phone and proceed. So I've enjoyed that. The other day I was watching a YouTube video with a gentleman. I think he's West African. And what I liked about his passion, he was saying that if you have a journey to go, you must load yourself. I like the way he said load yourself. I don't know how many of you have seen that, where he's saying that people who are successful, it's not by chance, it is not by God's grace. There is place for grace, but you have to load yourself. So I figure that's the same thing I might be doing with Prosper, because the advisors know the way.
Absolutely. And I like what you say, that you're standing on the shoulders of giants. That's really amazing. I want to go to Martin. Martin learned the art of negotiation. So Martin, have you ever been mentored before in the art of negotiation? And if yes, how difficult was the experience in Prosper?
Yeah, thank you so much, Diana. And yes, so I've been I've had the chance to be mentored before on negotiation. So it was a very different kind of negotiation because the previous one before Prosper was largely focused on career negotiation. So I was actually trying to move from a role in Zambia to come to Kenya. So I was trying to negotiate my salary package and all the benefits that come with it before accepting the role. So I took some negotiation classes for that, which is very different from what Prosper has provided because this is more on property negotiation. So the first one was on career, but this one is pretty much focused on property. So I was trying to actually get some property here in Nairobi, and I wanted to get a sense of who has done that before. And when I went on to Prosper, I could see one of the advisors that had really good experience on property negotiation, not just on home buying, but also on infrastructure. So I felt that would be really useful. So I signed up, and the beauty about it was I was actually taking the sessions while negotiating on the actual property that I was intending to buy. So it was more. Wow. Yeah, it was more practical for me. I was considering to buy a home in Runda. So I went, before signing the sales agreement, I took a practical which really helped make a decision about the property. I would say that was for me because it was much more practical, and it was different from what I had done before, which was pretty much focused on career.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing that. I think the people listening in and viewing in from whatever platform are going to learn a lot from this session. I mean, just listening to what you're saying is that you didn't come to MyProsper on a professional or rather career path, and you took more of a personal development. You are actually acquiring a property while learning the art of negotiation in buying property. So well done on that. Mary Weremba, we're with you to learn, to hear from you about your experience on the session on executive presence session that you had. So what specific needs did you have that you feel that MyProsper tailored for you? And were we able to deliver? Was the platform able to deliver for you, Mary?
Oh yeah, for me, the session was tailored to my specific needs actually, because the advisor started by wanting to understand my background, what I do, where I'm coming from, my role, what it entails, my struggles so far. So it's from that point that he was able to guide me on and give me tips to apply so as to have my executive presence felt amongst my teammates. So yeah, it was tailored to my specific needs.
Thank you, Mary, for that. Back to you, Gillian. What drew you to seek mentorship on career growth? I mean, yours is pretty much career growth. You have a diversity of skills that you've acquired through the different training sessions you've had. You wanted to grow in your career path. What actually drew you to seek mentorship on that same path that you're on?
Okay, thank you, Diana. When COVID hit, I currently work in an events management organization. So you know that events in Kenya were the first ones out. So basically we were at home, and because there was a lockdown, both curfew and lockdown, regions lockdown, so we were at home for about 4 months, not doing too much. And I had a lot of time with myself to just think through like my last few years, like what were my plans 5 years ago? Where am I now? What would my plans be 3 years from now? Do I even have if somebody asks me, where do you see yourself in 3 years from now? What would I be able to see? What would I be able to say to them if they ask me, what's your plan 3 years from now? What's your plan 2 years from now? 5 years from now? I need to be very clear about that because I felt like my world was crashing and I needed to sort of reinvent myself. So that is what led me to go for, it was career advice, but it was basically like born out of self-reflection, like a checkpoint, basically like a checkpoint, trying to figure out myself, like, what do I do next? With all the talent that I have, what's my next move?
Yes. Were you satisfied with the insights that they were shared during your session that you had?
Yeah. I was very, very, very satisfied. One of the things about myself, you can hear about the struggle that I was having. One of the things I quickly learned is the thing we are always told to learn to raise your hand instead of waiting to be picked. So much as I was at home, I was waiting for Corona to end so that I can go back to normal. But I mean, just learning to raise my hand, and raising my hand is not literal, although sometimes it is literal, but just like finding ways to diversify my methods to get income, my ways to help other people, because I can also mentor, and I have a lot of younger friends who also need advice. Just stretching myself in diverse ways. I have other interests, like I can tailor, things like that. Just trying to explore all of those. So it was good advice. It was very good advice.
Awesome. So then I'm glad that you're saying you learned the art of sharing, which is a way of learning and remembering, and then also the art of raising your hand. I'm really hoping that our listeners and our viewers are taking notes on this, because I definitely am. So Martin, what was the advisor and industry expert in the field that you chose? And then with that, would you like to share some of the insights that was shared by the industry expert that you had in your session?
Yes, thank you, Diana. So the advisor had quite a lot of knowledge in regards to negotiation. I think I Googled them. So before signing up, I had to Google and check out their profile. I saw they have done quite a lot of negotiation in infrastructure across the region, not just in Kenya, for big infrastructure projects. And I could get the sense that they had the knowledge that is needed to guide someone on how to be able to invest in property and also buy property. And one of the key things that I picked out from the sessions that I had with them, which were very insightful, were I was able to identify, in the process of trying to buy property, I was able to identify the interest that I had and also the seller had. So that was very good for me to get to know that my interest was buying, yes, but the seller was willing to sell at all possible costs. And then another key insight that I picked out from the sessions was to get to understand what's the best alternative to negotiated agreement. So in the market, actually that means trying to look at what else the market is actually offering, so that it could give me some source of power when I'm going back to negotiate. And then the other thing was to look at some of the weaknesses that the seller had, and also some of the weakness that I had, because it looked to me like the property was one of the best that I was looking for, but the power that I had was I had, compared to other buyers, and during this period of COVID-19, it seemed to me like the seller was having difficulties in trying to sell cash, get buyers who were able to pay cash. So the source of power I had was that I had the power. I had cash at hand. So that was one of the key things that I picked up from the conversation. So to identify where your source of power is and also where the weaknesses are, and then getting to find out what's the opening move when you're entering into a negotiation. So key things that I picked, key highlights, I'll just try and list them so that I can be very clear. So it was to identify the interests between the buyer and the seller, the best alternative to negotiated agreement, and also what's the target goal for me as a buyer and also the seller. And then what's the source of power, and then what are some of the weaknesses that I could be able to tap into when getting into the agreement or the negotiation, for me to ensure I have a very good strategic move that could open the negotiation. So those are some of the key things that I was able to pick from the sessions. Over to you, Diana.
Thank you so much, Martin. Wow, I'm here smiling and just imagining that session that you had, learning about BATNA, and I'm just hoping, again, our viewers, you should be taking notes, because this is just like information overload 101. And I love the fact that you actually said you wanted to know what the seller's weaknesses were. I mean, it is good to take note of what the interests are, your interests and the seller's interests, But as a buyer, knowing that the other person may have weaknesses and that you have a position of power is truly, truly amazing in this negotiation session that you had. Mary Weremba, back to you. Why did you settle on the advisor that you chose? Because I'm sure we had a pool of many advisors on the platform. You chose one. Why did you choose that person?
To begin with, I had heard a lot about him before he signed up on the app, number one. Number two, I had to go on his LinkedIn just to see, his background, what he's been doing, the positions he's been into in the job market. And I found out that he's actually a people's person, number one, and then also his ambitions and specialities was something I was equally interested in, and some of them were he wants to lead leaders, and he wants to win hearts and minds. So I thought, okay, in my position, I would like to be a good leader, I would like to also lead leaders at some point in my life, or rather in my career path. So what was the best approach? So I thought, okay, if I reach out to him, he's been there, he can give me first-hand experience and also more tips on how best to go about it. So that's why I settled on him.
Wow, that's really good. Is there any other, let's say, non-professional quality that, let's say, drew you to that person? And where did you get that information? Martin told us that he actually Googled the person that he chose on the platform. So how, where did you get more information about this person to lead you to that selection?
Okay. He happened to have mentored one of my relatives who is actually a person I really look up to. So I thought, okay, if he mentored her, why not me? And also just before the session, I happened to be in a forum that he was part of the speakers, and I listened to him, and I thought he's someone I could easily connect with. He's someone I could easily have a discussion, open up to, and get tips. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that. Gillian, on the career growth, do you feel like you're ready to be also somebody who can advise other people, or do you feel like you need to do more lessons or more sessions with different advisors for you to get to that level where you can actually step up and say, I am ready to advise other people. I feel like I have learned so much, and this is how my package is going to look like?
Thank you for that question. Interestingly, 2 days ago, I was on a session by Jane Mukami where she was doing a digital accelerator course. And in the digital accelerator course, she was saying that she realized when she started training, she didn't need to be 100 steps ahead. She just needed to be like 2 or 3 steps ahead of the people who she was mentoring. And that really struck me as interesting, because sometimes you feel like you have to know everything inside, outside, so deeply. But I figure that it's always good to start, because if you wait, you have so much theory, you've never practiced it, you've never told anybody, sitting with all this information that you have. I feel like I could do both, because learning is a continuous journey. I could always continue to learn, but I could always start disseminating some of the lessons that I have, both the practical experience and just general counsel and wisdom. So I feel like I could start mentoring. Yes.
Oh, that's really great. I'm glad that you're saying that. And just like in light of the COVID-19 situation, like what are some of the, like you mentioned it earlier when we started the session, that this is the period where you saw an opportunity to have a career growth. You saw an opportunity to better yourself, diversify your skill set. So is there any other thing during this period that you have learned that, say, for example, how do you put your thoughts to action, what you have just learned and what you're saying, I don't really need to know so much, but I'm ready to go out with the little I know and share with other people so that they can also better themselves career-wise. In this period, I'm sure there's something, probably we're using one of those platforms where you can be able to disseminate this information. What comes to your mind on how you can actually actualize that? Because at the end of the day, MyProsper App doesn't stop with us giving you advice. It's for us to know that you're ready to go to the world and put your advice into action.
Right. Yes, sure enough. I've been exploring my digital marketing skills. I'm a traditional marketer, but you can imagine in these unprecedented times, you need to remodel yourself. So one of the things that I picked out of the career development course that I did with actually Topi, who is the founder of Prosper, was just to go back and think of my career. Actually, her thing was, imagine yourself that you've climbed a mountain and now you're at the top of the mountain. Now go back and write how you got to that top of the mountain. So some of the things I hadn't explored that I have in my background is digital marketing. And about 2 years ago, I went to the Africa Digital Media Institute, ADMI, and I did certification in digital marketing, which I had not practiced.
Awesome. I'm really glad that you went straight for it. And it's the digital platforms, the digital element of now the new world where we are connected digitally, and definitely you can create a platform and better leverage it using data analytics. And truly there's nothing new under the sun. So just learning what opportunities are there is very, very important. I'm going to go back to you, Mary. The way Martin has given us some sort of like a crash review of what the art of negotiation looks like, would you give us a crash review of what that executive presentation looks like, please?
Okay, from the session I had, it leaves you reflecting on your leadership abilities, whatever you're talked to about, the tips you're given, you just find yourself trying to answer a few questions about, how you're doing so far in your position. Questions like, are you visionary? Are you helpful? Are you trustworthy? Understanding? Do you understand your workplace politics? Which are very, very important things that you need to do, or rather you need to know and know how to handle them for you to be recognized in your workplace, for your presence to be recognized executively, I would say.
That's really amazing. Yeah, you have to leave a mark and take note of what your, the memory that you leave in people's minds about yourself. That's really, really important. Martin, back to you now. Negotiation sounds easy when you give the science behind it and the method behind it, or actually the art behind it. How then do you possibly deal with a difficult person when it comes to negotiation? It's not always easy. You will know what their interests are. You will know what their weaknesses are. You will know what your power is. You will know what what price you have set for yourself. But you're just dealing with a difficult person. How do you then negotiate with a difficult person? And so then, before you answer that, I'm reminded that the hashtag is MyProsper Clinic. So hashtag MyProsper Clinic. You can tweet any quotables you're getting from this session on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. Kindly do tag our social media pages handles at MyProsper App on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter as well. So Martin, yes, please give us those tips for negotiating with difficult people.
When dealing with a difficult person, I think one of the key things to look out for is to find how far they can go. So how far can they go when it comes to, let's say, for example, if you're agreeing on an amount, so what's the best they can get to? So once you identify that, and then you also figure out if it's something that you will be comfortable with. The best, one of the key things that I've learned from the sessions that I had is to be patient when you're dealing with a very difficult person. So always trying to push to ensure at least you can get a sense of this is the best they can get to. And then spending a lot of time while being very patient to find out are there any other opportunities for you to be able to bring down maybe if you had agreed on an amount or they stopped at an amount. So you have to do some bit of research to find out, is this really the best that I can get? Or will I have any other source of power for me to be able to get back to the person so that we can get to a mutual agreement? So the best strategy that I felt works best from the sessions that I had is to try and get them to tell you what's the best they can get to, and then spending some time to go back and assess whether it's the best offer you can actually have in the market. So sometimes it pays to go back and say also this is the best I can actually offer. So we need to meet somewhere in the middle if we are both interested in closing this deal. So to some people, it might work well if you push back by saying, okay, this is also the best I can offer. So maybe it might help if we met somewhere in the middle. But that is always best informed if you're very patient, and you can go back and do some bit of research. Like for the house that I was trying to buy, one of the key things that the advisor advised me to do was to go and look at things like the floor plan, to go back and assess, will this be an investment or will it be a home? Because if maybe I was going to have a big family, I might end up outgrowing the place that I was looking to buy. So looking at some of those small things, like what's the common floor, the floor plan, is it the best for the amounts that is being offered? And so looking at that, and then coming back to the difficult negotiator and putting it out on the table, like you're offering this property, for instance, on you are offering it. I'm not going to pay mortgage, so you have to agree to them. I'm not going to pay mortgage. I'm going to pay cash, and I'm willing to make this payment in a very short period of time. But I want for us to be able to get to meet somewhere in the middle. So some of those things are how you can be able to deal with a difficult person. So you need to show them you're serious, but you also need to do your homework by being very patient and not agreeing to them being very difficult. So being very patient with them and explaining the reason why you think meeting in the middle makes some sense compared to what's already out there in the market. I don't know if that makes sense or answers the question.
It actually does. It actually does make sense, because what I keep hearing you repeat is like the words patience, which is a soft skill that people need to learn. The other thing I hear you saying is actually mutual agreement. Like you are very aware that in any negotiation, there are two different interests. One person maybe needs to dispose of property. Yeah. They need cash. You have the cash, that's your power, and you need the house or the investment. So then that mutual element to a negotiator in a negotiation or an agreement is something that I think needs to be reminded to many people who may, you want to enter a deal and you just want to make the best of it. You don't really consider the other person's interest or what they stand to benefit from it. So that's really important. So patience, mutual agreement there, I think those are the things that we need to learn.